A young heiress vanishes from her locked bedroom on the eve of her engagement, leaving no trace but a smudged letter and a bent hairpin. Was she kidnapped, or did she flee a scandal that could ruin her family? Hercule Poirot steps into a web of blackmail, forged wills, and a stolen necklace from a decades-old heist. Who is hunting Clara Winthrop, and what secrets hide in the shadows of Ashbourne Manor? Unravel the truth before the conspirators strike again. Grab a cup of tea, settle into your seat, and let yourself be pulled into this tale of mystery and betrayal. If you're enjoying the twists, hit that subscribe button, as your support means the world to us. Chapter 1. The Vanishing Heiress. The rain-slicked cobblestones of Ashbourne Manor gleamed under the gaslights as Hercule Poirot stepped from the carriage, his polished shoes clicking with purpose. The grand estate loomed, its ivy-clad towers piercing the November mist. Inside, the air was thick with panic. Clara Winthrop, the young heiress set to announce her engagement to a viscount at tomorrow's gala, had vanished from her locked bedroom. No ransom note, no sign of struggle, only whispers of scandal and a family teetering on the edge of ruin. Poirot's moustache twitched as he surveyed the drawing room, where the Winthrop family awaited. Lady Eleanor, Clara's mother, clutched a lace handkerchief, her eyes red-rimmed.
Monsieur Poirot, you must find her. Kidnappers, surely. They've taken my Clara.
Her voice cracked, but Poirot noted her theatrical pause, as if rehearsed. Beside her, Sir Harold Winthrop, Clara's uncle, paced, his cigar smoke curling like a restless ghost. "This is a disaster," he muttered. "The press will devour us." The butler, Reginald, hovered near the door, his face a mask of practiced neutrality, though his fingers fidgeted with a silver tray. Poirot raised a hand, silencing the room. "Mes amis, panic clouds the mind. Let us begin with clarity. Show me Mademoiselle Clara." Poirot's lips curved slightly. "Why, indeed? That is the question. Tell me, what was Mademoiselle Clara's disposition of late?" Lady Eleanor hesitated, her handkerchief twisting. "She was quiet. Distracted, perhaps, but happy. The engagement was her dream." Reginald, still by the door, shifted, his eyes darting to the floor. Poirot noted this but said nothing, instead kneeling to inspect the carpet. A faint smudge of charcoal dust led to the wardrobe. Inside, a velvet cloak was missing, though the rest of Clara's wardrobe, gowns fit for a gala, remained. "Interesting," Poirot murmured. "A lady does not flee in her finest dress, but takes a cloak for concealment. She plans, she hides." He straightened, addressing the room. "Who saw her last?" Reginald cleared his throat. "I did, sir." "Last evening she retired early, claiming a headache. I brought her tea at 9. His voice was steady, but his knuckles whitened around the tray. "And this tea," Poirot said, his eyes gleaming, "was it consumed?" He crossed to the bedside table, where a porcelain cup sat, its contents untouched, the saucer dusted with the same charcoal smudge as the carpet. "Curieux. A headache, yet no tea drunk. Perhaps Mademoiselle Clara was preoccupied." The family exchanged uneasy glances. Sir Harold blustered. "You're suggesting she planned this?" "Ran off before her own engagement." Poirot's smile was enigmatic. "I suggest nothing, monsieur. I observe. And I think with the little grey cells. He tapped his temple, then turned to Reginald. You will show me the servants' quarters. The rest remain here. I shall return. In the dim servants' corridor, Poirot's questions were relentless yet polite. Monsieur Reginald, you are loyal, oui? Yet your hands, they tremble. What do you know of Mademoiselle Clara's plans? Reginald's composure faltered, his eyes flickering to a locked cupboard. Poirot, ever observant, noted a faint scratch beneath the gnarled oak. Poirot found a shawl, Clara's, embroidered with her initials. Nearby, a villager, an old woman selling apples at dawn, confirmed seeing a young lady matching Clara's description, boarding a cart to a neighbouring hamlet. By sunrise, Poirot reached the hamlet, a cluster of thatched cottages. At a modest inn, he spotted Clara, her face hidden beneath a hood, sipping tea alone. He approached, his voice gentle. Mademoiselle Clara, your family fears for you. Yet I see no chains, only choice. Clara's eyes widened, then softened. Monsieur Poirot, I couldn't marry Langley. My heart belongs to another, but they'll never understand. Her voice trembled, but her resolve was firm. Poirot nodded. Your secret is safe for now, but danger may follow. Return with me, or let me protect you here. The choice is yours. Clara hesitated, then nodded. I'll stay, but please keep them away. Chapter 2. The Artist's Secret. The village of Ashwick stirred lazily under a grey morning sky as Hercule Poirot's carriage rattled toward a narrow lane, where Julian Moreau's studio crouched behind a tangle of ivy. The air carried the scent of turpentine and damp earth, a fitting backdrop for an artist whose letters had lured Clara Winthrop from her gilded cage. Poirot's polished shoes sank slightly into the muddy path, but his mind was sharp, piecing together the puzzle of Clara's flight. The letters found in Reginald's cupboard burned in his memory. Passionate, reckless words, hinting at a love that defied the Winthrop family's ambitions. But who was Julian Moreau, and what secrets did he guard? The studio's door creaked open, revealing a chaos of canvases, paint-splattered easels, and half-burned candles. Julian, a lanky man with ink-stained fingers and a mop of chestnut curls, froze mid-stroke at his easel. His eyes, shadowed with sleeplessness, darted to Poirot. Who are you? This is private property. His voice was sharp, the drape, revealing a portrait of Clara. She stood in a moonlit garden, her expression radiant, a golden necklace gleaming at her throat, a piece Poirot did not recognize from her wardrobe. Magnifique, Poirot murmured, though his eyes were on Julian. This necklace, it is not hers, I think. Yet you paint it with such detail. Pourquoi? Julian's shoulders sagged, his defiance crumbling. It's a gift. I designed it for her, but she never wore it. I swear I don't know where she is. His voice cracked, and Poirot noted the sweat beading on his brow. Calm yourself, monsieur, Poirot said, settling into the chair. Let us speak plainly. Your letters to Mademoiselle Clara suggest a plan to flee together. Yet she is alone, hiding. What has changed? His tone was soft, almost paternal, but his eyes were unrelenting. Julian sank onto a stool, rubbing his face. We were to leave together, after her engagement gala. She hated the idea of marrying Langley. Her family's choice, not hers. But then she vanished without a word. I thought she'd changed her mind, or worse. His voice dropped to a whisper. I heard rumors of men asking about her in the village. Rough types, not locals. Poirot's moustache twitched. Men, you say? Describe them. His mind flashed to the charcoal smudge in Clara's room. Perhaps a clue to an outsider's presence. Julian hesitated, then spoke. One came here yesterday, asking if I'd seen a lady matching Clara's description. Tall, scarred cheek, spoke with a London accent. Said he was a friend of her family. I told him nothing. His eyes flicked to a drawer, a movement Poirot did not miss. Most interesting, Poirot said, rising. May I? Without waiting, he opened the drawer, revealing, Find Mademoiselle Clara, and this Monsieur Crane. Julian nodded, relief flickering in his eyes. You'll protect her? She's everything to me. Poirot's smile was reassuring. The heart of Hercule Poirot is not unmoved by love. I give you my word, she shall be safe. He turned to leave, then paused. One thing more. This necklace, where is it now? Julian hesitated, then retrieved a small box from beneath a floorboard. Inside lay a golden necklace, its intricate design matching the painting. I was going to give it to her when we left together. Take it, if it helps. Poirot pocketed the box, his mind alight with possibilities. The necklace was no mere trinket. It was a clue, perhaps a key to Crane's involvement. As he stepped into the muddy lane, the village bell tolled noon, a somber note against the drizzle. He hailed a cart to the next town, where inquiries revealed Crane's gallery operated from a discreet office in London's East End. The journey ahead was clear, but first Poirot detoured to the Hamlet Inn, confirming Clara's safety. She remained hidden, her eyes wary, but grateful for his silence. Chapter 3. The Necklace's Riddle. The train to London rattled through the mist-shrouded countryside, its rhythm a counterpoint to Hercule Poirot's racing thoughts. In his pocket, the golden necklace from Julian Moreau's studio gleamed with secrets. Its intricate filigree, seen in Julian's painting of Clara Winthrop, was no mere lover's gift. It hinted at a deeper intrigue, one tied to the shadowy art dealer Silas Crane and Clara's desperate flight from Ashbourne Manor. Poirot's moustache twitched as he studied the necklace under the dim carriage light, its delicate links whispering of a past crime. His destination, a discreet jeweller in London's Hatton Garden, where answers might unravel the riddle of Clara's disappearance. The jeweller's shop, tucked between a tobacconist and a clockmaker, bore a faded sign, Gresham & Sons, established, 1865. The bell above the door. Your records hold the key. Gresham adjusted his spectacles, stalling. Records, you say? We've many transactions. This could be any number of pieces. But his eyes darted to a locked cabinet behind him, a movement Poirot noted with satisfaction. Permit me to assist, Poirot said, leaning forward. This necklace, it resembles one stolen in the notorious Haverford heist of 1895, a set of jewels taken from a noble family, never recovered. Am I mistaken? His tone was light, but his gaze pinned Gresham like a butterfly to a board. The jeweller's face paled. The Haverford heist? Preposterous. This is a common design, sir. But his hands trembled, and Poirot pressed his advantage. Then you will not mind if I examine your ledger, no? A simple glance to ease my curiosity. Without waiting, Poirot moved toward the counter's edge, where the ledger lay open. Gresham lunged to close it, but Poirot's quick hand stayed him. Tisk, tisk, monsieur. Secrets are heavy burdens. Share this one, and perhaps we avoid complications. Gresham slumped, defeated. All right, the necklace. It was pawned here 3 weeks ago. A young woman, veiled, brought it in. Said it was a family heirloom, needed quick funds. I paid her £50, no questions asked. His voice dropped, but I knew it was trouble. That design, it's too distinctive. Poirot's eyes gleamed. This woman, describe her. Tall, soft-spoken, dark hair. She wore a veil, but her hands were young, elegant. She left no name, only took the money and vanished. Gresham's voice shook. Then, yesterday, a man came asking about it. Rough sort, scarred cheek. Said he'd pay double to know who pawned it. Poirot's mind raced. The scarred man matched Julian's description of Silas Crane's associate. Clara, or someone posing as her, had pawned the necklace, linking it to the Haverford heist and Crane's schemes. This man, Poirot said. He left a name. None, Gresham replied. But he dropped this. Poirot tipped his hat, retreating to a nearby cafe to observe. Within an hour, the scarred man emerged, his coat bulging with what Poirot suspected was a ledger or payment roll. Trailing him discreetly, Poirot noted his path to a seedy tavern, where he met a cloaked figure. Too brief an exchange to identify, but enough to confirm Crane's network was active. Returning to his hotel, Poirot spread his clues on the table. The necklace, the warehouse card, Gresham's confession. The necklace tied Clara to a decades-old theft, but why pawn it? Was she raising funds to flee, or was she baiting Crane's men? The scarred man's presence suggested pursuit, but Poirot needed more. A telegram to Ashwick confirmed Clara's safety at the inn, her alias intact. She was not the cloaked figure. Her hands, Poirot recalled, were unscarred, unlike the tavern stranger. As night fell, Poirot mapped his next move. The warehouse held answers, but direct confrontation risked alerting Crane. Instead, he drafted a letter to Julian, urging him to stay silent and avoid Crane's men. The necklace, he decided, would remain with him, a lure for the scarred man if needed. Chapter 4. Shadows in the Village. The hamlet of Ashwick stirred under a veil of dawn mist, its thatched roofs glistening as Hercule Poirot stepped from the cart, his eyes scanning the quiet lanes. Clara Winthrop, the vanished heiress, hid here under an alias, her safety confirmed, but her motives still a tangle of secrets. The golden necklace, pawned in London and linked to the Haverford heist, weighed heavily in Poirot's pocket. Its connection to the shadowy art dealer Silas Crane, a thread he could not yet fully unravel. Now, in this sleepy village, Poirot sought to uncover who else knew of Clara's refuge, and why danger seemed to stalk her. Disguised as a travelling bookseller, Poirot donned a tweed cap and spectacles, his usual elegance muted to blend with the villagers. A battered satchel slung over his shoulder held not books but his notebook, filled with meticulous observations. The inn where Clara hid stood at the village's heart, its sign, with nervous eyes, hovered near the back door. Poirot, adopting a jovial tone, approached. "Young man, you dropped this, no?" He held up a coin, a pretext to engage. The lad flinched, his hand brushing a dagger beneath his cloak. Didn't drop nothing, the lad muttered, but Poirot's smile disarmed him. Then perhaps you know who left a note at the inn? A matter of urgency, for a lady's safety. Poirot's voice was gentle, but his eyes held the lad's like a vice. The lad shifted, glancing toward the bakery. I just deliver what I'm told. Man pays me, says to leave it for the governess. Don't know her, don't care. His bravado faltered under Poirot's stare. This man, Poirot pressed, he has a scar, perhaps? On the cheek? The lad shook his head. No scar. Older, posh voice, like one of them manor folk. Wore a ring with a moon on it. He pointed to his finger, then bolted, leaving Poirot with a new clue. A moon ring, distinctive, tied to the note's symbol. Someone from Ashbourne Manor, perhaps, was betraying Clara. Poirot returned to the inn, his mind racing. The blackmailer's connection to the manor suggested an insider, someone close to the Winthrop family. He recalled Reginald, the butler, whose trembling hands had betrayed guilt. Could he be the posh-voiced man, or was another player at work? Slipping into the inn's common room, Poirot observed Clara teaching two children their letters, her face a mask of calm. But her fingers clutched the chalk too tightly, her glances toward the door too frequent. Approaching her table, Poirot posed as a customer. Mademoiselle Gray, a fine morning for learning, oui? I sell books, perhaps a volume for the children? His coded greeting caught her ear, and she met his eyes, recognizing him despite the disguise. Monsieur, bookseller, she said carefully. I've enough books for now. But thank you. Her voice held a plea for silence, which Poirot honored with a nod. As the children scampered off, Poirot leaned closer, his voice low. Mademoiselle to Poirot, he said. Stay here. Act as if all is well. I shall deal with this shadow. That evening, Poirot positioned himself in a hayloft overlooking the inn, his satchel now holding a small lantern and his notebook. As midnight approached, the cloaked lad returned, this time with a companion, tall, silver-haired, wearing a moon-shaped ring. Edmund Winthrop. Poirot's pulse quickened as he watched Edmund slip another note under the door. Moving silently, Poirot intercepted the lad as he retreated, his voice a whisper. Tell your master his game is known. Run, and do not return. The lad fled, and Poirot retrieved the new note. Last chance. Meet me at the old mill, midnight tomorrow, or Langley knows all. Poirot pocketed it, ensuring Clara would not see it. He sent a telegram to the innkeeper, instructing him to double Clara's guard, then returned to Ashwick's outskirts, his mind ablaze with the next steps. Chapter 5. The Butler's Confession. The grand facade of Ashbourne Manor loomed against the twilight sky as Hercule Poirot's carriage rolled to a stop, its wheels crunching on gravel. The air was thick with the scent of wet leaves and impending rain, a fitting prelude to the confrontation awaiting within. Clara Winthrop remained safe in Ashwick, her alias as a governess intact. But the blackmail note with its crescent moon symbol pointed to treachery within the manor's walls. Cousin Edmund's moon-shaped ring marked him as a suspect. Yet Poirot's instincts whispered of deeper currents. The butler, Reginald, whose trembling hands had betrayed unease in Clara's bedroom, was the key to unraveling this thread of the web. Inside, the manor buzzed with tension. Lady Eleanor, Clara's mother, paced the drawing room, her silk gown rustling like a trapped bird. Sir Harold, her uncle, glowered by the fireplace, muttering about the scandal of Clara's absence. Edmund, the cousin, lounged in a velvet chair, his moon ring glinting as he sipped brandy. Poirot's entrance slumping. "I meant no harm, sir. I swear it. I passed her letters, that's all." His voice dropped to a whisper, as if the walls might betray him. "Letters?" Poirot leaned closer, his moustache quivering with interest. "To whom? And why?" Reginald glanced at the door, then spoke in a rush. "To that artist, Julian Moreau. Miss Clara begged me to deliver them, said it was a matter of her heart. I couldn't refute her. She's always been kind to us below stairs. But someone else knew. They threatened me, said they'd tell Lady Eleanor I'd betrayed the family." His eyes brimmed with fear. "I've served here 30 years, sir. I'd lose everything." Poirot's mind raced, connecting the threads: Clara's letters, Edmund's blackmail, and the looming shadow of Silas Crane. This someone, he said. They wore a ring, perhaps? A crescent moon? Reginald shook his head. "No ring, sir. But they left notes, slipped under my door at night. Always signed with a moon sketch. I burned most, but..." He hesitated, then crossed to a tin box hidden behind a stack of linens. From it he produced a single note, its edges charred. "Keep passing the letters, or your secrets go to Langley." The crescent moon symbol matched the note Poirot had intercepted in Ashwick. "Most illuminating," Poirot murmured, pocketing the note. "And these secrets, what do they hold over you?" Reginald's face crumpled. "Years ago, I took a loan from a man in London to help my sister. Never paid it back. They know, said they'd ruin me, have me arrested for theft." His voice broke, but Poirot's gaze softened, sensing truth. "Fear not, Monsieur Reginald," Poirot said, placing a hand on his shoulder. "Your loyalty to Mademoiselle Clara speaks well of you. But there is more, oui? A safe, perhaps, where you keep other secrets?" Reginald's eyes widened, then darted to a panel in the pantry wall, its seam bare. Someone would use them against her. Poirot nodded, securing the documents in his satchel. "You have done well to confess, monsieur. Now, you will aid me further. Say nothing of this, but watch Cousin Edmund closely. Report his movements to me alone." Reginald nodded, relief flooding his face as Poirot offered a rare smile. "Your secret is safe with Hercule Poirot." Returning to the drawing room, Poirot deflected Lady Eleanor's anxious questions with vague assurances. "Mademoiselle Clara is safe, madame. But the web is complex. I require time." Edmund's eyes lingered on him, the moon ring glinting, but Poirot's bland expression revealed nothing. He excused himself, stepping into the manor's gardens to clear his mind. Under the stars, Poirot pieced together the puzzle. Reginald's confession exposed the manor's role in Clara's flight. Her fear of the scandal's exposure drove her to Julian. But someone, likely Edmund, was exploiting it for blackmail. The documents linked to Haverford suggested a motive beyond greed, perhaps revenge. Silas Crane's shadow loomed, but the immediate threat was here, within these walls. The rain lashed against the windows of Poirot's rented room in Ashwick as he pored over the documents from Reginald's safe, their faded ink revealing a scandal that cast long shadows over Clara Winthrop's flight. The papers detailed a land deal orchestrated by Clara's late father, Lord Winthrop, in 1890. A ruthless maneuver that swindled Lord Haverford out of a valuable estate, bolstering the Winthrop fortune while leaving Haverford destitute. Tucked among the pages was a letter hinting that Clara's inheritance was tied to this tainted deal, a secret she feared would ruin her. Hercule Poirot's moustache twitched as he traced the connections. The stolen necklace from the Haverford heist, Silas Crane's threats, and Cousin Edmund's moon-ringed blackmail. The web tightened, and Poirot knew the next step lay with Lord Haverford himself. Dawn broke, grey and heavy, as Poirot's carriage wound face, noting the tightening of his jaw. Haverford leaned back, his eyes narrowing. That old wound? Winthrop cheated me, yes. Took my family's land through forged contracts and bribed surveyors. I was left with nothing but this husk of a home. His voice dripped with bitterness, but Poirot caught a glint of calculation in his gaze. Most tragic, Poirot said, his tone sympathetic yet probing. And now, Mademoiselle Clara Winthrop, she carries the burden of her father's sins. Tell me, have you sought restitution? Haverford's fingers stilled. Restitution. I've no claim left to make. The courts laughed me out decades ago. Why do you ask? His words were careful, but Poirot noted a tremor in his hand, betraying unease. Curiosity, monsieur, Poirot said, his eyes gleaming. A necklace, stolen in your family's heist of 1895, has surfaced. Pawned, perhaps, by one seeking to escape that past. And there are whispers of blackmail tied to your name. He leaned forward, his voice soft but unyielding. Speak plainly, and perhaps we resolve this without distress. Haverford's face paled, but he rallied, his voice sharp. Blackmail. Absurd. I've no interest in the Winthrops' dramas. As for the necklace, it's long gone, scattered with the rest of my legacy. He rose, gesturing to the door. You've overstepped, sir. Good day. Poirot remained seated, his calm unshaken. One moment, monsieur. Your valet, he wears a ring, oui? A crescent moon, like one seen in notes of thread. A coincidence, perhaps? The question hung like a blade, and Haverford froze, his eyes darting to the door, where his valet, a wiry man named Giles, hovered. Giles! Haverford snapped, his voice betraying panic. The valet entered, his moon-shaped ring glinting. Poirot's mind raced. Edmund's ring is under my protection. Giles nodded, cowed, but Haverford's eyes burned. You've no proof, Poirot. Those documents mean nothing without a witness. His voice was a snarl, but Poirot's smile was serene. Proof, monsieur, is a matter of time. And Poirot, he has time. He bowed, exiting the library as Haverford's protests echoed behind. Outside, Poirot intercepted Giles in the corridor, his voice low. One chance, monsieur. Tell me of your next meeting with the blackmailer's allies, or face the law. Giles, trembling, whispered, Tomorrow, dusk, at the old mill near Ashwick. They're planning to confront the girl. Poirot nodded, releasing him with a warning to stay silent. Back in Ashwick, Poirot confirmed Clara's safety at the inn, her alias still secure.
He sent a coded note to Reginald, instructing him to watch Edmund closely, suspecting the cousin's moon ring tied him to Giles's scheme. The documents, now locked in a village bank, were safe, their secrets a weapon against Haverford. As dusk fell, Poirot prepared to shadow the mill, ready to thwart the planned confrontation. Chapter 7. The Train to Nowhere. The fog hung low over Ashwick's sleepy station as Hercule Poirot adjusted his coat, his sharp eyes scanning the platform. Clara Winthrop, spooked by the blackmail threats tied to Lord Haverford and his valet Giles, had slipped away from the inn under cover of night. A villager's tip placed her on a dawn train, her alias as Eleanor Grey abandoned for a new disguise. The Crescent Moon notes, the Haverford scandal documents, and Silas Crane's looming shadow formed a tightening noose, and Poirot knew Clara's flight was a desperate bid for freedom. The station clock struck 6, its chime swallowed by the mist, as Poirot boarded the same train, determined to protect her. The train, a creaking relic bound for the coast, rattled through frost-kissed fields. Poirot, disguised as a bespectacled clerk with a tattered briefcase, moved through the carriages, his senses attuned to every
Brushed his coat, confirming a concealed knife. The distraction gave Clara a moment to notice the danger, her eyes meeting Poirot's in silent understanding. The train lurched, plunging into a tunnel, and the carriage fell dark. Poirot seized the moment, slipping a note into Clara's satchel. "Flee at next stop. Trust me." When the light returned, the thug was back in his seat, his eyes locked on Clara, unaware of Poirot's maneuver. At the next station, a rural halt called Dunmere, Clara rose, her movements casual but swift. She stepped onto the platform, vanishing into the crowd of farmers and peddlers. The thug followed, but Poirot was faster. He shadowed the man through Dunmere's muddy lanes, his clerk's disguise blending with the locals. The thug paused at a tavern, scanning for Clara, then muttered to a cloaked accomplice waiting in an alley. Poirot, hidden behind a cart, caught fragments of their talk. "She's here. Crane wants her found. Mill, tonight." The mention of the mill aligned with Giles's confession, confirming a planned ambush. Poirot doubled back to the station, where he found Clara hiding in a tool shed, her breath visible in the chill air. "Monsieur Poirot," she whispered, her voice trembling but fierce. "I saw him, the scarred man. He's one of Crane's. I can't go back to Ashwick." Poirot knelt beside her, his voice steady. "Mademoiselle, you are not alone. The man is watched, his plans known. But tell me, why Dunmere? What draws you here?" Clara hesitated, then opened her satchel, revealing a crumpled ticket stub and a letter. "Julian sent this last week, before I fled. He said if I was ever in danger to come here. His aunt lives nearby, runs a bakery. She'd hide me." Her eyes brimmed with trust in Julian, but fear lingered. "But if Crane's men are here?" Poirot's mustache twitched with satisfaction. "A wise choice, but we must act swiftly. Come, we go to this aunt." He led Clara through back lanes, avoiding the thug's patrol, to a clerk disguise held. He sent a telegram to Reginald at Ashbourne Manor, confirming Clara's safety and urging vigilance over Edmund's movements. The ticket stub Clara dropped, marked for Dunmere, lay in his pocket, a clue to her panicked flight, now secured. As dusk fell, Poirot watched the thug board a return train, likely reporting Clara's evasion to Crane. The mill meeting loomed, but Poirot had no intention of letting Clara face it. He returned to the bakery, ensuring Martha's secrecy, and left Clara with a warning. "Stay hidden, mademoiselle. The web is thick, but Poirot cuts through it. Chapter 8. The Coastal Conspiracy. The salty tang of the sea mingled with the coal smoke of Dunmere's coastal station as Hercule Poirot stepped onto the platform, his eyes sharp beneath the brim of a borrowed fisherman's cap. Clara Winthrop, now hidden in the attic of Julian Moreau's Aunt Martha at a local bakery, had fled here to escape Silas Crane's scarred thug and the blackmail tied to Lord Haverford's vendetta. The ticket stub from the train to nowhere had led Poirot to this windswept town, where whispers of the Haverford heist and a forged will swirled in his mind. Clara's safety depended on unraveling the coastal conspiracy, and Poirot's little grey cells were alight with purpose. Dunmere's cobbled streets bustled with fishermen and market stalls, their clamour masking the undercurrent of secrets. Poirot, disguised as a retired clerk seeking lodgings, traced Clara's trail to a seamstress shop where she worked under the alias Jane Carter. The shop, a narrow storefront with faded curtains, hummed with the clack of sewing machines. Through the window, Poirot saw Clara, her fingers deftly stitching, her face pale but composed. Yet her eyes flicked to the door too often, betraying fear. Poirot entered, feigning interest in a mended coat. "Mademoiselle Carter," he said softly, his voice low to avoid the other seamstress's ears. "Your needlework is exquisite, but your safety is my concern. We must speak." Clara's needle paused, her gaze meeting his with guarded relief.
Monsieur Poirot's shop, his clerk's disguise intact, and followed the winding streets to Pembroke's office, a squat building overlooking the harbour. The sign read Pembroke and Sons, Solicitors, but its peeling paint hinted at faded fortunes. Inside, Mr. Pembroke, a portly man with a walrus moustache, greeted Poirot with cautious politeness.
"A clerk, you say? What business brings you?" His eyes darted to a locked drawer, a tell Poirot did not miss. "Monsieur Pembroke," Poirot said, his tone genial but firm. "I inquire about a will tied to the Winthrop family. A document, perhaps forged, that troubles a young lady. You know of it, oui?" He leaned forward, his gaze piercing. Pembroke's jowls quivered. "Winthrop? That's old business. Lord Winthrop's will was settled years ago. Why dredge it up?" His voice was too sharp, his hands too quick to shuffle papers. Poirot's smile was serene. "Because, monsieur, a forged will casts long shadows. And shadows, they speak of men like Silas Crane, who seek to profit from secrets." He produced the necklace from his pocket, its golden filigree catching the light. "This, too, is tied to the Haverford heist. Was it part of the Winthrop estate you managed?" Pembroke's face drained of colour. "That necklace? I warned them it was cursed. Yes, I handled the Winthrop papers, but the will, there was talk of tampering. A man came last month, offering a fortune to alter records. I refused, but he knew too much." His voice dropped. "He mentioned Crane." Poirot's mind raced. Crane's reach extended here, manipulating the will to undermine Clara's inheritance. "This man," Poirot pressed, "he had a scar, perhaps? Or a ring with a crescent moon?" "No scar," Pembroke said, sweating. "But a moon ring, yes." "Said he represented a lord. Haverford, I think. I kept quiet, but they've been watching my office since." He gestured to the window, where a shadow moved across the street. A man, broad-shouldered, Lloyd Alice. "But they chase a ghost tonight. You are safe, and Pembroke's confession strengthens your cause." He explained the lawyer's admission, omitting the danger to keep her calm. "The forged will is known. We will disprove it." Clara's eyes shone with gratitude. "Thank you, monsieur." "I'll stay hidden, as you say, Martha." Waiting at the bakery, locked the attic door behind Clara, her face fierce with loyalty.
Chapter 9. The Hidden Ally. The moon hung low over Dunmere's rugged coastline, casting silver threads across the cobblestone streets as Hercule Poirot moved silently through the shadows. Clara Winthrop, safely tucked away in the attic of Martha's bakery, was shielded from Silas Crane's thug and the moon-ringed conspirators tied to Lord Haverford's vendetta. The forged will, confirmed by the lawyer Pembroke, threatened Clara's inheritance. But a new lead had surfaced. A whisper from Martha about Clara's childhood friend Evelyn Marsh, who had visited the bakery days ago, leaving a cryptic message about a safe place. Poirot's little grey cells buzzed, sensing Evelyn held a key to unravelling the conspiracy. Evelyn lived in a modest cottage on Dunmere's outskirts, its windows dark save for a flicker of candlelight. Poirot, disguised as a weary traveller seeking directions, knocked softly, his satchel concealing the Haverford scandal documents and the necklace from Julian's studio. The door creaked open, revealing Evelyn, a slight woman with sharp green eyes and auburn hair pinned tightly. Her face tightened at the sight of a stranger, but Poirot's disarming smile eased her guard. "Pardon, Mademoiselle Marsh," he said, his voice warm but precise. "I am a friend of Mademoiselle Clara, sent by one who knows her heart. May we speak of her safety?" He tilted his head, letting the candlelight catch his spectacles, a hint of his true identity. Evelyn's eyes widened, then softened. "You're no traveller. You're Poirot, aren't you? Clara wrote of you." She stepped aside, ushering him into a parlour cluttered with books and sewing baskets. "Is she safe? I saw her at Martha's, but she's terrified." "Safe for now," Poirot said, settling into a chair. "But hunted, mademoiselle. By men with moon rings and motives tied to old scandals. You know something of this, oui? A safe place, perhaps?" Evelyn's fingers twisted a handkerchief, her gaze darting to a locked writing desk. "Clara and I grew up together, shared everything. When she found those papers about her father's land deal..." To retrieve it now. Evelyn's face darkened.
"Because someone's watching the church."
"I saw a man there yesterday, tall, moon ring on his finger. Not the scarred thug, another one. I think he knows about the will." Her voice trembled, but her resolve held firm. Poirot's mind raced, connecting the moon-ringed man to Haverford's network. "You have done well, mademoiselle. Tonight we secure this will." He rose, his plan forming. "Stay here, lock your doors. I shall return with news." Under cover of night, Poirot approached St. Dunstan's, a weathered stone church perched on a cliff overlooking the sea. The crypt's entrance, hidden behind a rusted gate, yawned like a forgotten mouth. Poirot's lantern cast eerie shadows as he descended, the air damp and heavy with mildew. Following Evelyn's sketch, he found the rector's tomb, its marble cracked with age. A loose stone, as promised, yielded to his touch, revealing a tin box wrapped in oilcloth. Inside was the original will, its pages crisp, naming Clara as sole heir and exposing the forged version as Haverford's fraud. As Poirot pocketed the will, a shadow loomed. A tall figure, moon ring glinting, wielding a crowbar. "Hand it over," the man growled, his voice low and menacing. "Crane don't like thieves." Poirot's heart thudded, but his voice was calm. "Monsieur, you mistake me for a thief.
I am Hercule Poirot, and I suggest you lower that weapon. He stepped into the lantern's light, his small stature belying his authority. The man hesitated, then lunged. Poirot, anticipating the move, sidestepped, using the man's momentum to trip him into the tomb. The crowbar clattered, and Poirot pinned him with a swift kick to the knee, his agility surprising for a man of his build. "Who sent you?" Poirot demanded, his voice steel. "Haverford or Crane?" The man groaned, clutching his leg. "Haverford pays Crane to do his dirty work. They want the will gone, and the girl with it."
To dismantle the forgery. Chapter 10. The Family Reunion. The wind howled across the Dunmere cliffs, carrying the briny scent of the sea as Hercule Poirot's carriage rolled toward Ashbourne Manor. The original will, secured from the crypt of St. Dunstan's Church, nestled safely in his satchel, a powerful weapon to dismantle the forged document threatening Clara Winthrop's inheritance. With Silas Crane's thug and Lord Haverford's moon-ringed men circling, Clara remained hidden in Martha's bakery, but the web of conspiracy pointed back to the manor. Poirot's little grey cells hummed, sensing a pivotal moment. Clara's estranged aunt, Lady Margaret Winthrop, held secrets about the family's past that could unravel Haverford's schemes. A reunion was in order, and Poirot intended to orchestrate it with precision. Ashbourne Manor's grand hall glowed with chandelier light as Poirot arrived, his polished shoes clicking on the marble floor. Lady Eleanor, Clara's mother, greeted him with a strained smile, her eyes red from worry. Sir Harold, Clara's uncle, puffed a cigar, muttering about the looming scandal. Cousin Edmund, his moon-ring glinting, watched Poirot with barely concealed suspicion. But Poirot's focus was on Lady Margaret, a formidable woman in her 60s, her silver hair swept into a severe bun, her gaze sharp as cut glass. She had been absent during his earlier visits, secluded in her private wing, but her reputation as the family's keeper of secrets made her essential. "Monsieur Poirot," Lady Margaret said, rising from her armchair, her voice crisp. "You claim progress in finding my niece. Speak plainly. What have you uncovered?" Her tone brooked no nonsense, but Poirot noted a flicker of concern in her eyes. "Madame," Poirot said, bowing, "Mademoiselle Clara is safe, but pursued by those who would exploit a dark chapter in your family's history. I require your knowledge of the past, specifically the land deal with Lord Haverford. He produced the will, holding it just out of reach, its presence a silent challenge." The room stilled. Lady Eleanor gasped, and Edmund's hand took a vulture, but I didn't know of a forgery. Clara came to me, frantic, saying she'd hidden the true will to protect her future. I thought it lost. Her eyes met Poirot's, a spark of realization. "You found it, haven't you?" "Oui," Poirot said, revealing the document. "Hidden in St. Dunstan's crypt, thanks to Mademoiselle Evelyn Marsh. But Haverford's men are close, and someone within this manor aids them." He watched her closely, noting her clenched jaw. Margaret rose, pacing. "Edmund," she spat. "He's always been greedy, cozying up to Haverford's solicitors. That moon ring, he flaunts it like a badge. He's betrayed us." Her voice trembled with fury, but Poirot saw loyalty to Clara in her eyes. "Madame, we must act swiftly," Poirot said. "I propose a reunion, with Clara, here, under my protection. Haverford's solicitor is due to visit, oui? We confront him with the true will, expose the forgery." Margaret nodded, her resolve steeling. "I'll send for Clara.
discreetly. But Edmund mustn't know. She scribbled a note, sealing it with wax. My driver will fetch her from Dunmere tonight. Poirot arranged the details, ensuring Clara's journey would be cloaked in secrecy. But as he left the study, he caught Edmund eavesdropping, his face pale. Sensing exposure, Edmund bolted toward the stables. Poirot, quick despite his stature, signalled Reginald, who had been watching as instructed. The butler intercepted Edmund, feigning a spilled tray to delay him. In the stables, Poirot confronted Edmund, his voice icy. Monsieur, your ring betrays you. You work with Haverford, passing secrets to his men. Why? Edmund's defiance crumbled. Haverford promised me half the estate if I helped discredit Clara's claim. I needed the money. His voice broke, but Poirot's gaze was unrelenting. You will confess to the family, Poirot said, or face the law. Choose now. Edmund nodded.
Rolled thick across the moors surrounding Ashbourne Manor, cloaking the landscape in a ghostly shroud as Hercule Poirot adjusted his scarf, his sharp eyes piercing the gloom. Clara Winthrop, reunited with her aunt Lady Margaret and armed with the true will, was safe within the manor's walls, but the web of conspiracy spun by Lord Haverford and Silas Crane tightened. A new threat had emerged. A false ally, posing as a friend, had lured Clara to a meeting at the old mill, orchestrated by Haverford's men. Poirot, alerted by a coded message from Reginald, sensed a trap. His little grey cells churned, ready to turn the hunter into the hunted. The mill, a decaying relic on the moor's edge, loomed in the mist, its broken wheel creaking in the wind. Poirot, disguised as a groundskeeper in a tattered coat, arrived early, his satchel hiding a lantern and the Haverford scandal documents. He had intercepted the false ally's note to Clara, promising aid but reeking of deceit. Clara, under Poirot's orders, remained at the manor, guarded by Margaret's loyal driver. But the meeting was a chance to catch Haverford's agent, and Poirot would not let it slip. He took position behind a crumbling wall, the fog muffling his breath. Footsteps crunched on gravel, and a figure emerged. A wiry man in a tailored suit, his face unfamiliar, but his moon-shaped ring glinting. This was not Edmund, confined under Reginald's watch, nor the scarred thug tied to Crane. A new player, perhaps Haverford's trusted lieutenant. The man paced, checking a pocket watch, muttering, "She better show, or Haverford'll have my hide." Poirot's pulse quickened, but his calm held. He stepped into the open, his groundskeeper's cap low, his voice gruff. "You waiting for someone, sir?" Mills closed, dangerous at night. The lie was deliberate, bait to draw the man out. The man spun, his hand slipping to a concealed pistol. "Who are you?" "This ain't your business." His eyes narrowed, but Poirot's hunched man's defiance crumbled. "Name's Vance. Haverford hired me to scare the Winthrop girl into handing over the will. Said if she didn't, Crane's men would deal with her." His voice shook, fear overtaking bravado. "I was to meet her here, pretend to help, then deliver her to Crane." Poirot's moustache twitched with satisfaction. "And this meeting, it was to betray her, oui? To whom do you report?" He tightened his grip, his eyes unrelenting. Vance winced. "Haverford's man, Giles, at the mill tomorrow. Crane's thug'll be there too. They want the will burned and Clara silenced." His confession spilled, spurred by Poirot's steely resolve. "Most enlightening,"
Poirot said, releasing Vance but keeping the pistol. "You will come with me, monsieur, and face the law's judgment." He bound Vance's hands with a cord from his satchel, his mind racing. The mill meeting, already known from Giles's earlier confession, was now confirmed as a double cross, with Crane and Haverford aligning to crush Clara. The fog thickened as Poirot led Vance across the moor, their path treacherous with hidden bogs. A sudden shout broke the silence. A second figure, cloaked, emerged from the mist, brandishing a knife. "Let him go!" the figure growled, his voice muffled but familiar. Giles, Haverford's valet, his moon ring catching the lantern's glow. Poirot's heart thudded, but his wit was sharp. "Monsieur Giles, you are late to the trap," he said, sidestepping as Giles lunged. The fog played to Poirot's advantage, cloaking his movements. He tossed a stone into a nearby bog, the splash distracting Giles, who whirled toward the sound. Poirot seized the moment, tripping Giles with his stick and disarming him with a swift twist. "Enough!" Poirot snapped, his voice cutting through the mist. "You and Vance, you are pawns in Haverford's game. But Poirot, he does not lose at chess." He bound Giles alongside Vance, their protests muted by the fog's weight. At Ashburn Manor, Poirot delivered the men to Reginald, who summoned the local constable.
As Hercule Poirot navigated the grimy streets toward Silas Crane's art gallery, a nondescript storefront masking a den of intrigue. Clara Winthrop, safe at Ashbourne Manor under Lady Margaret's guard, was shielded from the double cross at the mill, where Poirot had captured Haverford's men, Vance and Giles. The true will, secured in the manor's safe, nullified Haverford's forged claim. But Crane, whose scarred thug and moon-ringed allies wove the conspiracy's darkest threads, remained a threat. Julian Moreau's confession had named Crane as the puppet master, pressuring the artist into forgeries. Now, Poirot aimed to unravel Crane's gambit, his little grey cells, poised for a decisive strike. The gallery's windows were shuttered, but a faint glow seeped through the cracks. Poirot, disguised as a wealthy collector in a tailored overcoat and false beard, knocked sharply. The door creaked open, revealing Crane, a lean man with a predator's smile, his eyes cold as polished steel. "Mr. Dubois, is it?" Crane said, his voice smooth but laced with suspicion. "You're late for our appointment." "Pardonnez-moi, Monsieur Crane," Poirot said, his accent deliberately thickened. "But art, it demands patience, no?" He stepped inside, his eyes scanning the gallery's cluttered walls. Paintings of dubious authenticity hung beside genuine works, a testament to Crane's duplicity. Crane gestured to a velvet-curtained alcove. "You mentioned interest in a rare piece. A necklace-inspired work, perhaps?" His words tested Poirot, referencing the stolen Haverford necklace now in Poirot's possession. "Oui, a piece tied to history," Poirot said, his tone casual but his gaze sharp. "But first, let us discuss your business with a certain artist, Julian Moreau. His work, it intrigues me." He watched Crane's smile falter, a crack in his polished facade. "Moreau? A minor." "All right, Poirot, I know it's you. The beard's good, but those eyes." Haverford paid me to pressure Julian, to find Clara. He wanted her inheritance, said the will was his leverage. I sent men to scare her, but I didn't expect her to run. His voice shook, fear overtaking greed. Poirot's moustache twitched with satisfaction. "And the forgeries?" The necklace?
Julian owed me money, Crane admitted. I forced him to paint fakes to cover it. The necklace, she pawned it to fund her escape. I tracked it to Gresham's, sent my man to retrieve it. It's evidence of Haverford's claim, or so he thought. He gestured to a locked cabinet. My ledgers. They'll prove it. Poirot moved swiftly, opening the cabinet with a key from Crane's desk. Inside, ledgers detailed payments from Haverford, orders for forgeries, and notes on Clara's movements. A forged painting, half finished, bore Julian's style, but a master's signature, proof of Crane's crimes. Most illuminating, Poirot said, pocketing a key ledger. But you, monsieur, have played a dangerous game. Crane's eyes darted to the door, but Poirot was faster, blocking his path. You will not run. Instead, you will aid me. A trap for Haverford's men at your gallery, tonight. His voice brooked no refusal. Reluctantly, Crane agreed, fear of exposure outweighing his cunning. Poirot orchestrated a fake auction, announcing a rare Haverford piece to lure Crane's remaining allies. By dusk, the gallery filled with shady buyers, among them a moon-ringed man, Haverford's last agent, a burly figure named Torrance. Poirot, still as Dubois, mingled, his eyes tracking Torrance's every move. As bidding began, Poirot signaled Crane, who nervously presented the forged painting. Torrance, eager to secure it, approached Crane, whispering, Haverford wants this done tonight. Where's the girl? Poirot, overhearing, stepped forward, dropping his disguise. Monsieur Torrance, he said, his voice clear, there is no girl here, only justice.
Unravel. His little grey cells hummed, orchestrating a showdown to end the web's deceit. Poirot stood before the Winthrop family, Lady Eleanor, Sir Harold, Lady Margaret, and Clara, his presence commanding despite his small stature. Cousin Edmund, confined after his betrayal, was absent, but Reginald, the loyal butler, hovered nearby, his eyes sharp with vigilance. Mes amis, Poirot said, his voice clear as cut glass. Tonight we end this. Lord Haverford comes, expecting to claim Mademoiselle Clara's inheritance. He will find instead the truth. He held up the true will and Crane's ledger, their weight silencing the room. Lady Margaret's eyes blazed.
That viper dares enter my home?
Let him come. Clara, pale but resolute, nodded, her hand gripping Margaret's. Poirot had sent a forged invitation, crafted in Haverford's style, promising a private meeting to settle the Winthrop matter. The bait was irresistible, and as dusk fell, a carriage rattled up the drive. Haverford emerged, his silver hair gleaming, his face a mask of arrogance tinged with desperation. He entered the hall, unaware of the constables hidden in the servants' quarters, summoned by Poirot's foresight.
Monsieur Poirot, Haverford said, his voice dripping with disdain. You meddle in affairs beyond your grasp.
Where is Clara? I've come to negotiate.
His hand rested on a cane, its head shaped like a crescent moon, a final confirmation of his guilt. Poirot's moustache twitched with a serene smile.
Negotiate, monsieur. Non, you come to face justice. Mademoiselle Clara is here, but it is you who are trapped.
He gestured, and Clara stepped forward, flanked by Margaret and Eleanor, her eyes fierce. Haverford's composure faltered.
You've no proof,
he snarled, but his gaze darted to the documents in Poirot's hand.
Au contraire, Poirot said, his voice rising. This will, the true one, names Mademoiselle Clara as heir. Your forgery, exposed by Monsieur Pembroke, is dust. Over. Oui, mademoiselle, Poirot said, his eyes softening. Your inheritance is secure. your enemies undone. But one question remains. Why did you fear to trust your family? Clara's voice was steady now. I thought they'd force me to marry Langley, to bury the scandal. But Aunt Margaret, she understands. Margaret squeezed her hand, her stern face softening. Lady Eleanor stepped forward, her voice choked. I was wrong, Clara. I thought the marriage would protect you. Forgive me. The family's embrace, tearful but genuine, warmed the hall. Poirot turned to Reginald, who stood tall despite his earlier guilt. You, monsieur, have redeemed your loyalty. Guard this family well. Reginald nodded, his eyes grateful. As the constable's carriage vanished into the night, Poirot retreated to the manor's library, his satchel lighter without the documents, now entrusted to Margaret for legal action. He sketched the conspiracy's final threads. Crane's fall, Edmund's confinement, Haverford's arrest. Each a knot untied. Clara's reunion with her family and the exposure of Haverford's crimes offered a climactic resolution. Yet Poirot's mind lingered on Julian Moreau, Clara's artist, whose love had sparked her flight. A final visit to Dunmere would tie that loose end. Chapter 14. The Web Unravelled. The morning sun bathed Ashbourne Manor in a golden glow, its warmth a stark contrast to the storm of deceit that had raged within its walls. Hercule Poirot stood in the grand drawing-room, his polished shoes gleaming on the polished oak floor, his moustache perfectly curled. Clara Winthrop, her inheritance secured by the true will, stood beside her aunt, Lady Margaret, her face radiant with newfound freedom. Lord Haverford's arrest, Silas Crane's confession, and the capture of their moon-ringed conspirators had dismantled the intricate web of blackmail, forgery, and theft. Yet one thread remained. Clara's heart, tied to Julian Moreau, the artist who had sparked her flight. Golden filigree catching the light. This, stolen in the Haverford heist of 1895, was pawned by Clara to fund her escape, linking her to a past her father buried. Clara's eyes met Julian's, her voice soft. I couldn't marry Langley. Julian was my truth, but I feared the family's shame would trap me. Julian stepped closer, his hand brushing hers, a silent vow. Poirot continued, his tone measured. The scandal, Lord Winthrop's theft of Haverford's land, fueled Lord Haverford's revenge. He forged a will, enlisted Silas Crane to blackmail Clara, and used men like Giles, Vance, and Torrance to hunt her. Cousin Edmund, with his moon ring, betrayed the family for greed. He nodded to Reginald, who stood tall despite his earlier guilt. But loyalty prevailed. Monsieur Reginald confessed his role in passing Clara's letters, and Mademoiselle Evelyn Marsh revealed the true will's hiding place in St. Dunstan's crypt. Lady Margaret's stern face softened. Clara, I failed to see your heart's truth. But you fought bravely, and we stand with you now. Lady Eleanor, tears in her eyes, embraced her daughter, her earlier insistence on the marriage forgotten. Poirot turned to Julian. Monsieur Moreau, your love for Clara was the spark, but your entanglement with Crane nearly cost her freedom. Yet you protected her, in your way. He held up Crane's ledger, its pages damning. Crane's forgeries, Haverford's payments, all exposed.
The web is cut. Julian's voice was steady. I never meant to bring her danger. I'll spend my life making it right. He knelt before Clara, pulling a simple ring from his pocket, not a moon, but a star. Clara, if you'll have me, we'll build a future, free of secrets. Clara's smile was radiant as she accepted, her family's gasps turning to murmurs of approval. Sir Harold, gruff but moved, clapped Julian's shoulder.
The truth, your courage, your love, they are the victory. Live well, and let the little grey cells of Poirot rest. He tapped his temple, his moustache curling with satisfaction.